As the U.S. prepares for the 2024 election, the lingering impact of Donald Trump's 2020 election denial continues to ripple through the political landscape. Recent revelations from key political figures, including House Speaker Mike Johnson and former U.S. Acting Solicitor General Neil Katyal, paint a disturbing picture of Trump's awareness regarding the falsity of his election fraud claims. According to these figures, Trump not only knew that his claims were baseless, but also actively sought to manipulate the system to cling to power. What's more troubling is that this pattern of denial and manipulation may be far from over. As a key architect of Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, Speaker Mike Johnson's rise to power casts a shadow over the upcoming 2024 election. Will Trump's allies attempt another power grab if the election doesn't go their way? And what does this mean for American democracy moving forward? In this video, we'll delve into these shocking allegations and explore the potentially disastrous implications for future elections. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to reaching 1,000 subscribers, but we can't do it without you. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe right now. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. All right, let's dive right into it. The seeds of election denial. Trump's 2020 playbook. In the aftermath of the 2020 presidential election, Donald Trump launched an aggressive campaign to challenge the results. Despite losing the electoral vote to Joe Biden by a clear margin of 306 to 232, Trump refused to concede, claiming widespread voter fraud. His allegations, however, were systematically debunked by courts, election officials, and even members of his own party. According to Liz Cheney, a former Republican congresswoman and prominent critic of Trump, the former president was well aware that his claims were false. Cheney recently revealed that Trump and his allies, including Mike Johnson, were repeatedly informed that there was no evidence of widespread fraud. He knew with specificity that the claims of fraud that Donald Trump was making and that he was repeating, he knew those to be false. Cheney stated, he knew that courts had specifically found that those claims were false. The fact that Trump continued to push his false narrative, despite being aware of its lack of credibility, speaks volumes about his determination to cling to power. His efforts culminated in the events of January 6, 2021, when a violent mob of his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in a bid to overturn the election results. Trump's role in inciting this insurrection is still the subject of numerous legal battles. But one thing is clear: his baseless claims about the 2020 election laid the groundwork for an unprecedented attack on American democracy. Mike Johnson's role in the 2020 election challenge. One of the most troubling aspects of the ongoing debate about election integrity is the involvement of key Republican figures, such as Mike Johnson. While relatively unknown in 2020, Johnson played a significant role behind the scenes in Trump's efforts to challenge the election results. As a member of the House of Representatives, Johnson was one of the most vocal supporters of Trump's baseless fraud claims. In fact, Johnson went so far as to sign a legal brief urging the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn the results in several battleground states. According to Liz Cheney, Johnson was fully aware that these claims were unconstitutional, yet he continued to push them in a bid to placate Donald Trump. This sycophantic loyalty to Trump has raised serious concerns about Johnson's ability to uphold his constitutional duties as Speaker of the House, particularly when it comes to certifying the results of the 2024 election. Cheney's warnings about Johnson's role in the 2020 election challenge are echoed by other prominent figures, including Neil Katyal. Katyal, who served as acting U.S. Solicitor General under President Obama, has expressed deep concern about the potential for a repeat of the 2020 election chaos in 2024. What the vice president said, what Donald Trump has said, What members of the Republican Party have said leads me to think there is a coming massive crisis that's going to occur on November 5th, Katyal warned, referring to the 2024 election date. Trump's continued assault on election integrity. As 2024 approaches, Trump has shown no signs of backing down from his election denial rhetoric. In recent months, he has repeatedly claimed that the upcoming election will be rigged if he loses, mirroring his statements from 2020. These remarks have stoked fears that Trump and his allies may once again attempt to challenge the legitimacy of the election, regardless of the outcome. One of the key figures perpetuating this narrative is J.D. Vance, a Republican senator from Ohio and staunch Trump supporter. During a recent interview, Vance was asked multiple times whether he believed that Trump lost the 2020 election. Each time, Vance dodged the question, instead focusing on issues like the alleged censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story. This refusal to acknowledge the truth about the 2020 election is emblematic of the larger problem within the Republican Party, a willingness to perpetuate lies in order to protect Trump's political future. Polls show that millions of Republicans still believe that the 2020 election was stolen, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. This widespread belief in the so-called big lie poses a serious threat to the integrity of future elections. If Trump supporters continue to reject the results of any election that doesn't go their way, the very foundation of American democracy could be at risk. The peaceful transfer of power, a tradition in jeopardy? One of the cornerstones of American democracy is the peaceful transfer of power. Since the founding of the Republic, the United States has prided itself on its ability to transition from one administration to another without violence or disruption. However, the events of January 6, 2021 shattered that tradition in a way that many Americans never thought possible. Donald Trump's refusal to concede the 2020 election and his subsequent incitement of the Capitol insurrection marked a dark moment in U.S. history. For over 3 hours, Trump watched as his supporters attacked the Capitol, assaulting police officers and vandalizing the seat of American government. Despite pleas from lawmakers and his own advisors, Trump refused to call off the mob, instead tweeting inflammatory messages that only served to further inflame the situation. In the end, the insurrection was quelled, and Joe Biden was inaugurated as president, but the damage had been done. The peaceful transfer of power, a tradition that had endured for more than 2 centuries, had been violently disrupted. And with Trump now positioning himself for a potential 2024 run, there are growing fears that the same thing could happen again. When asked about the possibility of a peaceful transfer of power in 2025, President Biden admitted that he wasn't sure. His concerns were echoed by figures like Liz Cheney, who pointed out that Trump's allies in Congress, including Mike Johnson, have shown a willingness to undermine the democratic process in order to keep Trump in power. The future of American democracy, a call to action. As the United States heads toward the 2024 election, the stakes could not be higher. Trump's continued denial of the 2020 election results, combined with the rise of figures like Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance, has created a volatile political environment in which the peaceful transfer of power is no longer a given. The passage of the Electoral Count Reform Act in 2022 was a step in the right direction, but as Neil Katyal has pointed out, it is far from a perfect solution. There is still ambiguity in the law, and Trump's allies have shown time and time again that they are willing to exploit any loopholes to achieve their goals. The American people must remain vigilant in the face of these challenges. The 2024 election will be a critical test of the country's commitment to democracy, and it is up to voters to ensure that the will of the people is respected. The stakes could not be higher. If Trump and his allies succeed in undermining the electoral process once again, the very future of American democracy could be in jeopardy. The revelations about Donald Trump's knowledge of the falsity of his 2020 election claims are deeply troubling. Not only did Trump knowingly spread lies about voter fraud, but he also sought to manipulate the system in order to maintain power. Figures like Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance, who continue to support Trump's baseless claims, pose a significant threat to the integrity of future elections. As the 2024 election approaches, it is more important than ever for the American people to remain informed and vigilant. The peaceful transfer of power is a fundamental aspect of democracy, and it must be protected at all costs. Trump's election denial was not just a one-time event. It was a dry run for what could happen in 2024. The future of American democracy is at stake, and the time to act is now.